Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. So in this video, we are going to understand how we can able to do a CRUD operation using JPA repository. We are going to see step-by-step process from creating a project to perform complete operation in this video. So stay tuned in this video and the entire way so that you can able to follow the each and every step very carefully. And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and follow the video. If you like it, please do like. Let's start the video. Get started. So first thing, we need to create a Springboot project and we need to add some dependencies over there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, so we'll open a browser over here. Okay, so here I have my browser. What we can do is, I want you guys to open Spring Initializer. So just type as, or if you have already the project, so then it's no problem. And if you're creating a project for the first time, so you can go for Spring Initializer. And here I'm in the Spring Initializer right now, so I'll just click on the Spring Initializer and you can give your the name which you want for your project, so you can define over here. So in my case, I'm doing a Java project, so that's why the language I have selected as Java. And it's not a Gradle, so Gradle Ruby and Gradle Kotlin is used for mobile application. So right now we are doing a Maven project, so that's why the web application, so I'm selecting as Maven. All right, so now next, so here you need to specify your package name. So I'm going to give a package name as com.backend. So I'm not going to build the entire application, I'm just showing an operation how we can able to uh, do it. All right, so com.backend, and here I'm going to give the project name as a backend over here, and this is going to I'm going to keep it the same. And here, instead of com.backend.backend, I'm just going to keep as com.backend. That's all, very simple. All right, so now you can specify whichever you want, either jar or var, whatever you want, and select the Java which you need. And next we are going to add the dependencies. I hope you guys are clear with this particular portion. And next we are going to add our dependencies. The first dependency which I'm going to add as, so just type as web. We can see Spring Web over here, web dependencies. So I'm going to select this one. Okay, Spring Web. And the second one I need is DevTools. So why DevTools? Because it doesn't require to restart the application every time whenever you make any changes in your application. So for that reason, if you can see here, there is something called live reload. So when you save the file, automatically this restarts our application. So that's why Springboot DevTools. So not related to the coding part, but this is related to for the development environment or development experience, which is mentioned over here. Enhance development experience. So I'm going to select this one. And the next one we need is JPA repository. So we are going to save the data using JPA, right? So that's why Spring Data JPA. All right. So next one we need a MySQL connector. Okay, so I'm going to take MySQL driver because we're going to connect to our database, right? So for that reason, I'm going to select this. Okay, so all our dependency is done. So the next step, what we are going to do, we'll just click on this generate. So this is going to download a zip file. Okay, this is going to download a zip file over here, and we'll extract that zip file, and then we are going to import it in our Eclipse or Spring Suite ID. So here is our backend which we downloaded just now. I'm going to extract this like this. Okay, so it's been extracted over here. So now what I'm going to do is, I'll go for my Eclipse ID over here and file, or you can just click a right button here as well, anything is fine. Click on import, and here you need to search for Maven. Okay, Maven. So when you search for Maven, you will get something like this. So since the project has been initialized in a Spring Initializer itself, so that's why it is considered as an existing project, but it's a new one. So select existing Maven projects, click on next, and next will import, or will select where our folder is saved. In our case, or in my case, it's saved in the download folder. I'll go to download folder over here, backend, just click on this one and select folder. All right, so here we got like something like this. So when I click on finish, if you see bottom right side, it is showing as importing Maven projects. So this will take some time, and here we can able to see our application is getting loaded. If you see, there are two folders and one, two, three, four files. When the import gets completed, you can see more number of folders and files work here. So this will take some time to download and update the project. So in the meantime, what we are going to do means we are going to create a database in the database section. Okay, so if you have already the database and the table, you can follow in your case. But if you want to create from the scratch, means you can. So I'm using MySQL Workbench work here to create a database. And if you are following with H2 database or a lightweight database, means it is going to be the same. Yes, it's all about the database connection which we are going to give in application.properties file. Okay, so here we have SQL or MySQL Workbench which is being opened right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to close all these files which has been already opened. So I've been using for different files over there. And next, now I'm going to create a database, a new database. So what I can do, here there is an icon directly to create a database, or what we'll do, we'll write a query for that. Okay, that is going to be very nice. So create a database, and you need to specify the database name. So as of now, I'm going to give the database name as backend. Okay, backend. All right, so run this, and here the left side you can able to see. Okay, if it is not, see here you can see it's not been created yet. So it's been created but it's not been refreshed. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'll just click a right button, refresh all. Here I can able to see my backend, and I'm going to keep it as the default. And here we have our database got created. So now we are going to create a new table over here. Let's say I'm going to create a table name. You can create any table you want, just you're trying to save the data in the database, right? If you have already your own table, you can follow with that. And yeah, that's it. So I'm going to create a table name called customer. I'm going to store the customer data inside a table. So the table name which I'm going to give here is customer. So probably it's not so visible because the icons here, it is very small. I don't know how I can make able to increase this, but we have a feature in YouTube, or in the video you can just zoom it and you can able to see that. All right, so customer, and so the column name. And first of all, before I pursue with this, if you're new to our channel, please subscribe it. And most of them are visiting our channel. 97% people are not subscribing it. So please do subscribe so that I'll get motivated to make a many number of videos, and I can bring a lot of content to you in the IT industry part. All right. Okay. So let's give first one. I need an ID. So which is going to be a customer ID, and this is going to be a primer key and a not, and also I'm going to give it as an auto increment. All right. So the next one, I'm going to give customer name. Customer name. Okay, so varchar, that's fine. And here the next one, I'm going to give date of birth, like this, date of birth. I hope spelling is correct. PI. Okay, even for me also it is very small. All right, the next we are going to give as a phone, and this I'm going to give it as int. And next one, after phone we'll take it as the email, and then address. And next we're going to take a username and a password. Just we'll take it. Okay, username and a password. All right, so if you're already working on a project, means there would be some different columns, but just try to map this columns with your case. All right, the main intention is we need to the data. The main intention is the data. So I'm just clicking on apply, and I click on apply. Okay, I'll click on finish. All right, okay, so here So now the first thing, what I do is, first I'll insert a data inside this table. Okay, I'll insert some data. Let's say insert into customer values. Okay, no problem. So we'll add it later, or it's better to add one data over here. Okay, insert values. So first one is 1, and next we have a customer name. I'm going to give customer name as Abhinaya. The next one, date of birth, let's say 13. Oh, we need to give it in the quotes. 13 6 1999. And next we have the phone number. I'm going to give 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. The next one, we have an email ID, abhi@mail.com. And next one, we have address, Bangalore, or you can give any address you want, just sample data. Abhinaya is the username, and the password I'm going to give as 1234. All right, so here the data been stored. If I do select star from customer, you can see one data has been inserted. All right, so now our application has been imported. Right now it's been successful, and if I expand this now, you can see many folders has been created. You can, before it was only 2, so now we can see a lot more. But yes, all right, so I hope everyone is clear till here. All right, okay, good. So here the first thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to expand this source main Java folder over here, and you can able to see com.backend. All right, so I'm going to create few more packages over here. Okay, so like this, the first one is going to be just select source main Java new and go for package. So I'm going to give the package name as this has to be perfect, so this has to match for this, otherwise you will get an issue. So backend I'm going to give entity. Okay, so I'm going to copy this package because I want this to use it later. So entity folder or entity package where we're going to store all our models or entity. All right, so entity is done. So next one, I'm going to create one more package, com.backend.controller. All right, so where this is our main controller where we are going to create the APIs. And the next one, we are going to create a repository. Okay, so here we import a JPA repository in this particular package. And the last one, we are going to use the service where we enter it all the service, right? So that is what it is, service. All right, so I have created all the 4 packages, and the next step what we are going to do is we'll go for this application.property file. All right, so here go for source main Java, expand, click on application.properties. So here we are going to give the a backend connection over here. Okay, so we are going to give the backend connection. See, by default, or I'm using MySQL Workbench, so everything is going to be the same, and only the driver name and the driver name is going to be different, and the username and password is going to be different based on your application. Okay, so now let's do that. The first one what we are going to do is spring dot data source dot url is equal to, here the default one for MySQL Workbench. So suppose if you are using Oracle or in Microsoft or Oracle SQL Developer or H2 database, which is a lightweight database, if you are using, the driver name is different, but everything is going to be the, whatever you are seeing, spring.data source.url, that is going to be the same, just the driver name is going to be different. So suppose if you are using MySQL Developer, sorry, MySQL workbench, which I'm using right now over here, which is this one. So then you need to follow this one. Okay, so JDBC Java database connection colon MySQL colon /2 then local host, it is a local host, right? So local host and colon, by default your MySQL workbench will run at the port number 3306. So that's what it is, localhost 3306 / then you need to give your database name. So what was the database which we created in our MySQL workbench? It was backend, right? So it was the backend, the same name. All right, so backend and a question mark. I'm not going to use SSL certificate, so that's why I use SSL is equal to false. So this is our driver name which you're going to give. All right, so this is a connection. Then the next one, you're going to give the MySQL workbench username and the password. So spring dot data source, spring dot data source dot username is equal to root. In my case it is root. So next one, same, spring dot data source data source dot password is equal to, in my SQL workbench password is this one, so that's why. In your case it will be different if you have give a different password means. So this is what it is. So now the next step, we are going to start the application. So just select the backend and we need to check whether all our dependency has been correctly installed or not. So select it, run as Java application or Springboot application. Okay, and this will take some time, we need to wait for it. See, before okay, here you need to select your backend application. So where you have backend, here I have backend application com.backend. So just click on OK. All right, so if you find any issues, we need to understand and we need to fix that. Okay, all right, so let's see. Okay, cool. So if you see here, started backend application. So what I'm going to do, and then the port number is 8080, right? So I'm going to open this com.backend application.java. Here I'm going to write one print statement which says, I mean for our convenience, so I'm writing this application cc. I'm just saving this file, I'm not going to start the application. The saved, see the bottom here in the console, it reloaded automatically. If I slide this to left side, you can able to see that printed statement which we just added. Now application started. So our application is set to get started for our coding. All right, cool. All right, so now we are going to create all the files which is required for us to build this or to complete this operation. The first one, I am going to create a customer controller. All right, so where we are going to create the API work here, customer controller. All right, it's in the com.backend.controller package. All right, so customer controller is the first Java file which we are creating, and inside entity we are going to create the customer model or the entity over here. So customer, and this has to be the same name whatever your table name is in the database. All right, customer. Okay, so this has to be same name, and here we are going to use the repository where we are going to use the JPA repository. We are going to import the, or we are going to implement the JPA repository with this particular package. So here I'm going to give this customer repository. All right, so here it's got created. Oh, I just made a mistake, I'm extremely sorry. I'm going to delete this particular file. We need to create an interface. By mistake I created a Java. So select this com.backend.repository and right button, and go for new, go for interface. So customer repository is the file name. Just click on finish. So here a interface has been created. The next one, we are going to create a service new, and what we will need, we need a class. This is going to be customer service. All right, so just click on finish. All right, so there are few things you need to do it by default. So first one is going to be controller. Just go for the controller over here, and in the controller you need to add an annotation over here, which is at rest controller. So I'll tell you the reason why we are adding this. Just import it. Okay, so how your Springboot application or your job application is going to understand that this is a controller, and here we are going to create our APIs, how it is going to understand. So to make our Springboot application understand that this is our controller, you come here and pick the APIs. So that's why we are giving the annotation as REST controller, or you can also specify the just controller itself. That's also fine. I'm going to use a REST controller. Okay. The next one is going to be our customer.java file. Okay, so here whatever the fields you created in your database or the customer table, like ID, customer name, date of birth, everything, all this you have to write it over here. Okay, so there are a few things. First one, you need to do an annotation that this is an entity. So this particular entity or the model is has to be same as in your database table, and we need to mention that this is our entity. We need to tell our Springboot application that this is our entity, take the values from here. So we need to do an annotation as entity. That's all. Done. Cool. The next one, we are going to include all the fields. The first one we had in our database was ID, so that's why it's of type integer, so int ID. Okay, next one, string, string customer name here, right? Customer name, date of birth, phone. Next we have a date of birth and phone. So string date of birth. Next we have phone, which is of type integer, phone. Next, what we have next? Email, address, username, password. So string email, string address, string username, and string password. Got it? So here whatever we have in our database columns, same way we have created all the values over here. The next thing, we need getters and setters for this. So just click a right button over here and source, go for generate getters and setters. Okay, because how we go, okay, I'll show you. So just select all, click on generate. So what does this mean is, whenever you want to set a value for an ID, or whenever you want to set a value for customer name, so we don't call this particular variable, we call this method, which is set customer name. Okay, so this is how you're going to set the name for a customer name or a customer name variable. When you want to get the name, we use get customer name method. So for that's why we need getters and setters. And here if you see at the console, we are getting some errors. So that's because error creating bean with an entity manager. So that's because, see, this is an entity and it has to be some a ID and generated values. So here we have gave this as auto increment, right? The ID we have gave as auto increment while creating the table. If I'll show you here again, see here we have created an created as auto increment. So for that reason, we are going to make this as this is our ID mentioned as ID annotation, import it. The next one is generated value So this is going to be an auto increment. So for that's why generated value strategy is equal to generation type dot identity. Okay, so here just import this, that's all. Okay, so generated type, generated value has been imported, and if I scroll down, see now you are not getting any errors at the console, right? So application started without any issues. So controller annotation is done, customer.java is done. So now we go for customer repository. All right, so the customer repository, what we are going to do is, so we're going to import the JPA repository over here. All right, so the JPA repository, so what we can do over here is just make as extends, oh oops, extends JPA repository, and this will take two parameters. The first parameter I am going to give, what type of JPA repository is this? This has to be an entity of type. Which entity of type? We have created an entity type called customer. So I am performing an action for customer entity type. So that's why I'm going to give this as customer, and you'll get an error. Just hover your mouse over here like this, get an option to import it. So it's been imported, and if you see the import, it's been imported from com.backend.entity. So com.backend.entity is this one. We have customer, the customer type, and here we are going to fetch, or the unique thing over here in all this is id. Id is going to be the primary key, and that is going to be an auto generated value and auto incremented value as well. So whenever we want to do pick the unique customer data, means we will pick with their IDs. So IDs of type integer, right, in the database which we have given. So that's why we're going to give an integer. So done. All right, so the repository file is also done. So now we are going to go for customer service. Okay, so the customer service, what we are going to do is very simple. Now it's very simple. So in the customer service.java, we need to specify, or we need to make our Springboot application or our Java application to understand that this is our service. Whatever the code you are going to execute, come and execute from here. So for that reason, at service, import it, done. So here we have specified all the annotations or all the functionalities which needs to be done for all the different files. So now your application, our complete application is set. So we can go ahead and do our operations. Okay. All right. The first operation which we are going to do means we are going to get the data from the backend, or get the data from the database work here. So we are going to write a method, and we are going to create an operation, JPA repository operation, which is, you already know, which is CRUD operation. In that, the first one which we are going to do is read. We are going to read the data from the database and we'll get the data. All right, so we're going to read the data. That is going to be our first operation, which means we're going to get the data over from the database. So all right, so to do that, the first thing which we need to do is we need to read a method. We're going to write a method. So before that, writing a method, as I said, right, we are using JPA repository. So we're using a JPA repository means we need to create an object of that repository in the service. So this repository, which is customer repository, which has been extended from JPA repository, I'm going to create an object over here, customer repository, and here what I'm going to do is private customer repository, and I'm going to create an object over here. So customer and repo, customer repo. So here we'll be getting an error. So just hover your mouse over here, just import it, and it's done. Right? So we need to add an annotation over here, which is a named as AutoAid for dependency injection, and which is going to be connect for an repository and for our service. Yeah, right. So I'm going to write a very simple method to read the data. So CRUD in CRUD operation, the first one is read. So read, how easy it is, right? So public, let's say for now I'm going to keep it as void. The method I'm going to give is get all customers, or let's say get all customers data. Let me keep it like this. So get all customers is a method, and what we are going to do is, so using this customer repo object, we are going to call a method, a inbuilt method named as find all. Okay, so I'll show you one more thing over here. So when I do the object dot find all, so if you see over here, it is mentioning as a list. Means whatever the data which we'll be getting from the database, it is going to be in the form of a list. So for that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a method, a return type as list. Okay, and also what type of data which we are getting from the database, it's of type customer, right? So for that reason, I'm going to give the method name or the type is customer. So just hover my mouse or just hover your mouse. So first we'll import the list, and next we're going to import the customer. All right, done. And here we'll be getting an error. That's because, so we have mentioned the return type as a return, but we have not used that keyword as a return. So return customer repo dot find all. All right, so this method is going to give the list of customers from the database. So from in the database, I have already added the two data over here, which is, let me oops, oh, by mistake the workbench has been closed, but no problem. Let me reopen it back. Yeah, in the meantime, we are going to create an API in the customer controller package. The method, all right, so it's, let me enter the password over here. Okay, so here I entered the password. So here we got the workbench. So if I do select star from customer, which is from our backend database in the customer table, so we have two data. First one is Abhinaya, second one is Vasu. So these are the two data which has been saved. So these two data will pull it out with our code. So with this read operation, so let's create an API. The API which we're going to do is first one. So here we have did the implementation, right? So we need to take the object of this customer service. All right, so private customer service. So customer service is the object name which I'm creating over here. Just hold your mouse and import that, and also annotate this as auto wire for successful dependency injection. All right, next, so we are going to create a method over here, a method which is going to give or the API which is going to read all the data from the database. All right, so public list of what type of data which we will be getting. So we'll be getting of type customer, right? So get all customers data is a user defined function which I am giving over here. It's not an inbuilt function. So let's import this list over here, list, or your how your mouse, and oh, there's a mistake over here happen. Okay, happen. All right, so just how your mouse, import this list and import this customer. The customer is something our model or an entity. So based on this type, the data which we will be getting. So that's why. So let's do a return statement, return, and we are going to call the method which we have written just now with this object. So customer service dot, this is the method which we have written just now, right? Get all customers. So just click on that and give a semicolon. All right, so here we got the method, and just create an API over here. So since we are getting the data, the mapping name will be get mapping. We are getting the data. All right. So let's say what API name which you want to give. I want to give the API name as, let's say, forward slash uh, customers slash get. This is the API name which I'm using. All right. So just hover your mouse and import this get mapping so that there won't be any error. And yeah, voila, we have created a method which read the data from the database. So shall we test it? Yes. Test this. I'm using Postman over here. So let me go to the Postman, and by default your application will be running at the port number 8080. So that's why I'll show you again here the console. Let me start the application first. Okay, here my application is getting started. In the meantime, so http colon 2 forward slash localhost colon 8080, and the API which you just created, copy that and just paste it in the Postman. Okay, so here we use get mapping. That's why the method name is get. Got it? Right. So now I'll go to my Eclipse ID again. The application got started. So if I scroll down to the right side, you can see the server started on the port number 8080. So for that reason, localhost 8080. Got it? So I'm going to send the request, and if there is an error, we'll come to see. But as of now, I didn't get any error, so that's why we can able to see. As I said, right, in the database we had only two data, which was Abhinay and Vasu, and here we can see first user data which is of type customer. So that's why bracket opens and close here, and bracket opens and close here. The first user data or the first customer data over here, the customer name is Abhinaya. The second customer data is Vasu over here, whose ID is 3 and Abhinaya's ID is 1. So two data we have fetched, and we have successfully able to read the data from the database. Understood? That's cool. All right. So now let's head back to our Eclipse and let's go back to our customer service. The next operation which we are going to do now is CRUD, right? R is done, which is read operation is done. Now we are going to do C, which is create. It means you have to create a customer. You have to add the data to the database. Creating the customer, creating the data. So you're taking the data, means you're taking the information and you're creating a data and storing in a database. So inserting or creating. So that's what it is. Next one is our create. So let's give annotation which we had done previously. This was uh, let's say read read operation read operation. All right, cool. So the next operation is going to be the create operation. All right, very simple. Let's write a method. See, as of now, okay, let's type it. Public them in the here. See, the previous method or in the previous operation, we were getting the data and we were returning the data. So now we don't want to return anything. So for that reason, public void, I'm going to create a method name as add customer. Okay, so if we are storing the customer, means we need to store what type of data? A customer type of data, correct? See, when we are getting the data, we need to get the customer type of data. So that's why this method will take an argument called customer. So here we have created a method, right, or the entity, right? So here we have all the customer data. So this type of data which we want to save it in our database, because this is the table we have in our database, right, named as customer, right? Customer. Here I'm going to create an object as customer. Okay, now it's very simple. Okay, so from this customer repository dot save, just save this object. That's all. Done. We just did it. But along with this, I want the information to be known, so I'm going to write this out or print statement which says customer data added successfully. Got it? So we just created a method. So let me make or put comment it as like this: create operation. Done. Okay. So what is the next step we have? We need to create an API. That's all. So let's go to the controller over here. The method, we know that it's not going to return anything. Public void add customer is a user defined method, and this will accept an object named as customer. Okay. So now, so return. So from this service, we'll call that method customer service dot add customer is the method, and with the same method we are passing the customer object. That's all. So we are getting an error. Let me see what is it. Oh, okay. Let me come over here. What was the method name I have given? Void. Correct. Provides throwing an error over here. Let's save it. Oh, sorry. We know that, right? We're not returning anything, but I have mentioned as return. Okay, cool. Yeah, because we have not given any return type, right? So now what is the next step? Just we need to create an API to add the data. See, to get the data we use something called get mapping. Now we are adding a data, we need to use something called post mapping. Let's import this. Done. So I am going to create an API named as add customer. Okay, so whenever this API is called and when we pass the customer information, we are going to get the data. I mean, we were successfully able to show the data. Got it? Oh, one thing I have not mentioned over here. See, this will take an object, correct? But from where this will take this object? So, whenever this API or the post mapping API is getting executed or being or when the request is made, so we need the data to store inside this object so that we can able to pass this object over here. So how we are going to get the data? So from this API, right? So for that we need to use something called request body. So request body. So now what is my request body? I'll show you with an example. Okay, just remember this. Okay, I'll show you with the postman. All right, so everything is done. So request body means in the sense we are getting the object data from the request body. So that's it, is very simple one, but I'll show you in a postman so that you will get an idea. So here is our API add customer. So I'll go to my postman over here. I'll open a new tab. Yeah, the localhost 8080, which is my application endpoint, like this. So here is my API add body. So our method is expecting a customer object. So a request body. So what is my request body? So here we will be passing a customer object from the body. So this is what it is. So body, click on row and select this as JSON. So we'll be passing the data of a customer in a form of JSON. So here we got the data, right? I'm going to take the same format. We need to pass it in the same format. So that's why. So it was already ready. So that's why I've taken from here. But if you're doing for the first time, we need to type it everything. All right. So this time I am removing the ID because we have mentioned the our database table as auto increment. So that's why I'm not giving the ID. So let's give a name as Ironman, and let's keep everything same. Phone number I'm going to give 8888. So this mail ID also I'm going to mention as Ironman, and let's say Ironman is from India, and username Tony, and password I'll keep the same. All right, so why is there error? Okay, the bracket got closed. I mean, it got removed. All right, so here we have all the data. So now let me click on send. We got an error. Why? I'll tell you. See, we have mentioned the mapping as post, but in the person we have mentioned as get, right? So let's change it to post and send the request. Before sending it, let me go back to the Eclipse again. Okay, no problem. We have done it actually. So let me send the request over here, send it, and we didn't get any error. So if I go to my Eclipse ID and we can see an error. Oh no, customer added successfully. So this is the message which we can able to see over here. So now here we already have the API which is going to get the customer, right? Let's use the same API. So let me go back here, send it. You see the first customer data Abhinaya, second customer data was Vasu, and the third customer data, the ID is 5 which is newly created and the name is Ironman. So all information is correct. So shall we check in the database whether data is correct or not? So let's go to the database now. Select start from customer, and here you can able to see Ironman data has been added successfully. Done, right? So let's go back again to the service. The two operation is done, read operation and create operation is done. All right, the next operation is, so we have, okay, for that CRUD, right? CRUD. C, read operation is done, read operation is done. The next we are going to do is delete or update. What do you want? Let's do the update. Okay, so after that we will left out with only one. So first let's do that. All right, cool. So the next operation which we are going to do means we are going to update the data. Okay, update the data. So here we have customer, right? So we're going to update the customer data which is already there, right? Okay, cool. So let's add it like this. Update operation, update operation like this. So the method I'm going to create is public. If you want to return something, you can return it, or if you don't want to return anything, you, it's up to you. But as of now I don't want to return it, I just need to update, and I want to throw a message that it's been updated. So public void update customer. Okay, update customer. So same way, same as the add customer, it also requires the updated customer data, right? So that's why I'm going to give the object name as updated customer, like this, updated customer, right? Cool. So updated customer. Okay, so now what we are going to do is, see, first thing, cool. So we will be passing the updated data, and whatever the data which is already exists in the database, that going to fetch it first, and for that existing data we'll give the updated data. Confusing? Okay, I'll make it very simple. The first thing, so when we are passing the updated data, we need to get that first existing data. Okay, so first, whatever the data which we have in our database, so first pull that. Okay, so very simple. For that we are going to use this customer repo. Okay, customer repo. Okay, customer repo dot find find by ID. Okay, so whenever I want to update the customer, also I will pass the customer ID as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this method is going to take two arguments, int ID, which is customer ID. So along with the updated customer information, I'll pass the ID as well. Okay, so I'll show you one more method over here. This for knowledge purpose. In you know this body, right? As of now you know about this body, how we did it, right? sorry, here, how we pass the information. So for this we use something called request body in our controller. So same way I'm going to introduce one more concept for your knowledge, but you can follow that. All right. Yes. So will you passing an ID for which particular customer we want to update the data. So also I'll pass the customer ID. So customer ID is this one. Okay, 135, same thing. Let's go back to our Eclipse. So here, get by ID. So here, this method is going to get the data of a customer. But so what are the data which you're getting over here? That I'm going to store it in a object called existing customer. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, let's say customer and existing, let's say existing customer. Okay, existing customer is equal to like this. So here, what are the data which you'll be getting? Okay, this is okay. So what type of data which you're getting? It has to be of type customer. One second, just a second. Why have you used customer repo over here? Customer report are find by ID. Change the type of existing option customer. Okay, this is asked for an optional. Okay, no problem. See here. See, if the data is present, okay, if the data is present, that data will store over here. What if data is data only, it's not there? Let's say I want to update the Ironman data, but the Ironman data already it's not present in the database. What if that situation comes? So to handle that, if the data is not there, what we are going to do is dot, or else we are going to store the null value inside this existing customer. That's all. If the data is not present, we need to store something inside this, right? So that's why I'm going to store the null value. Done. So if customer present, which is existing customer, is not equal to null. See, if the customer present means, if the data is present means it is going to fill, it is not going to be a null, right? So that's why I'm going to check the condition. If the existing customer is not equal to null, then what is the next step which we want to do is, so all right, I'll show you. Existing customer, okay, existing customer dot set, for the same object I'm going to update with the, okay, I'll show you. So existing customer set address. So whatever the updated data you're going to give, right, the same updated data I'm going to set inside this object for an address first. So updated, from the updated customer object I'm going to get the what, address. See here I'm getting the updated address. I'm going to set the updated address in the existing customer object. I'm going to save it in existing customer object. Understanding? Cool. Cool. All right, so next one, existing customer dot set customer name, updated customer dot get customer name. No confusions? Cool. You got a confusion, repeat this, go back and see it again, you won't get the confusion. So we want to store the updated data in the existing data. Getting? That's all. So existing, oops, existing customer dot set date of birth, updated customer dot get date of birth. From the updated data I'm getting, the existing customer dot set email ID. From the updated customer object, let's get the email ID. Means updated email ID. Understanding? So from the existing customer dot set email is done. Next we have, I don't want to update the ID. I'll just update the password if it's required. So updated customer dot get password. Next, existing customer dot set a phone number, updated customer dot get a phone number. Done. So from the existing customer, what are the parameter next we have? So phone is done. Last is username. The name. Okay. From the updated customer, let's get the username, and then we are done with everything. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So total of 7 values. So now our existing object is perfectly updated with the updated customer data, or updated data has been updated for the existing data. So now it's very simple how we did like this over here. So from the customer repository, or from the customer repository dot save, you pass the existing customer object and you're good to go. Okay, done. So let's write a print statement. Okay, customer data updated success. Done. All right, so what is the next step? So let's create an API for this particular method. Okay, so now it's little bit not tricky. Right, cool. Void public void update customer. So you know that this method is going to take two object. Okay, the first one, same way I have used for add customer request body, same thing I'm going to use it for here. The second one, which we are going to do, use something called path variable. Okay, the second method which I wanted to show you, path variable. So from the path variable, what we are going to take is we're going to take the integer or the id. So how it is, I'll show you. So let's say from this service, let's call that update method, and we'll pass the customer object over here and the id over here. So what is my path variable? Let me show you. Let's create an API over here. So to get or to read, we use get mapping. To add, we use post mapping. To update, we use something called put mapping. The API is going to be something like this. So this is the API name which I'm giving, update customer. All right. So path variable means from the URL or from the endpoint, you're going to give the path, or you're going to give the value ID. Okay, so the same ID will come over here, the same ID will pass it over here. Understanding? Cool. Shall we test this? All right, let's go. Let's go to our Postman. Let's open a new tab. Let me copy the same endpoint from the previous one, because same localhost 8080. Let me give my API name, which is update customer. All right, so instead of add customer, update customer, and you know it is going to expect an object of data to be shared. So I'm going to take the same data of an am and work here from the behind. Let's go to the body, raw, and make it as JSON. Okay, so oops, let me copy this again, paste it. Oh, it's not copied. Okay, copy, paste it. All right, cool. So now see, Iron Man data, we have something like this now. Iron Man date of birth is 1/6/1999. Phone number is 8888. Mail ID is this one. Iron@gmail.com. Address India. Username Tony. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to update the email ID. Instead of ironman@gmail.com, I'm going to make it as Tony@gmail.com. And phone number, I'm going to update as 6666 instead of 8888. All right, so let me go to the Postman. So first is mail ID, I'm going to update as Tony. Okay, so phone number I'm going to give as 6666. Do you want to do anything else? So let me change the year to 2020 or 2000 was the first I am released. 4 sorry, 2014. 2004. No, 2004. I don't remember. Yeah, I think. Yeah, so let's change the method name to post mapping. Let's send the request. No, it is not going to work. So because we didn't get the path variable. So what is the ID of an IMAN? IMAN ID is 5. Correct? Let's go to our postman. Let's give that ID as 5. Send the request. So we got an error. So what is it? What is it? What is it? Oops. We are updating. We need to make it as put. So let's update it to put. Then send the request. Now no error. Let's see in the Eclipse. So here we can able to see the message as customer data updated successfully. Let's check in the database. So before checking the database, we use the previous API get data here. So let's send the request. So here we got the Ironman data, Ironman. The email ID got changed from Ironman to Tony, and the phone number also got changed from 8882666. Let's check in the database again. Select start from customer. So here we have Ironman and Tony at gmail.com and phone 6666. Done. So we have successfully able to update the customer data using JPA repository. Done. All right. So we have completed read operation, which is key operation create, read operation R, and update operation U. All right. The next operation which we're going to do is delete operation. So let's do that. So we are going to delete our data based on the customer ID or based on its ID. All right. So let's write a method for that to delete our data. So the operation I'm going to mention it over here. Delete operation. Delete operation. All right. Good. So now let me keep it in a single line. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's write a method. So here I don't want to return anything, so that's why public void delete customer. Okay, see, we have done create, we have done read, we have done update. Now we are doing the delete operation. Once it's done, we are done here. All right, delete customer. So here we'll take the data from the path. So int id, we want to get the customer id. So very simple, delete operation is very simple. From the customer repository object dot, all right, so dot delete delete by id. I'm going to choose this one, delete by id. Let's pass the id like this. So done. Very simple. Got it? All right. So let's write an API for this. Let's go to the customer controller. So here public void delete customer, and this is going to take a path variable just like I have used in the previous operation, path variable, which is going to be an int id like this. So from the customer service dot delete customer, then we'll pass the id over here directly. So now the last step which we have is to create an API. So get to read, post to add, put to update, delete to delete mapping. So the API name which I am going to give is /delete customer /id. Okay, this is going to be a id which will be taken from the path variable. So I'll go to my customer service. So once this operation is done, I am going to write a sysout over here. It says deleted successfully. Okay, or customer data, customer deleted custom successfully. So let's go back to our controller. I'll copy the, okay, yeah, go to the postman. I'll open a new tab over here. Just copy the same thing, the endpoint, paste the endpoint. The API name is delete customer. delete customer, and here we need to give an ID. So I want to delete the IMAN data. So let me give the IMAN. What is the what is the ID of an IMAN? It's 5. So let me give it as 5. That's all. And the mapping which we need to give is delete. Delete. Done. So let's click on send request. I hope everything is correct. So we didn't got any issues over here. Let's check in the Eclipse ID. Here we got an message as customer deleted successfully. So if we check in the get API, here we are getting the Iron Man earlier. If I send the request again, we can see only two data, which is Abhinaya data and Vasu data over here, right? So if I check in the database, select from customer, so we have only data. So now I want to delete one more data, which is 3. I'll go to my postman again. Instead of 5, I'm going to give it as 3 and I'll send the request. So if I see in the Eclipse again, we got a message again. The database, now we are going to have only one data, which is Abhinaya. Alright. So now we have successfully implemented all the 4 CRUD operations successfully. I hope you guys able to understand this, and I have explained it very nice, right? So if you understand and if you're able to implement it carefully, and you're able to understand the CRUD operation using JPA repository means you. Thank you for watching the video. And if you're new to our channel, please do show some love, small little, and please do subscribe our channel, The Learning Mighty. So let's meet in our next video. Until then, take care. Goodbye. Bye bye.